Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Random Chatter Reviews. This is our show for a big movie release, actually.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about a big movie release, which hasn't happened much in the last couple of years.
Used to be every weekend, and now it's been about maybe every 6 months, every quarter at the most.
Yeah, it's coming around. I think we're getting more and more of this, and now that I think the U.S. has given up on COVID restrictions, so, we'll be in theaters more often, I guess. But this week we're going to cover The Batman, along with a bunch of other stuff we have. So I'm here tonight with Tim and Eric. Tim, how are you tonight?
I'm doing very well, Lou. I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to this episode here. And Eric is with us. Eric, how are you?
I'm doing great. Oh, I'm excited. I got something in the mail. I know it's the wrong show, but...
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
Lego helmet series for The Mandalorian.
I love these helmets.
I'm really impressed with them.
They're fun builds. They're and they look cool. You can display them.
They're not really expensive.
No, not too bad. I bought a floating shelf this past week. I'm going to put up to put all my helmets up because now they're taking up too many windows and too many windowsills. So
see, I have to see if Light My Bricks has a set for that yet. They didn't when I pre-ordered it. They do for this, which I also got.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
The Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, and the lighting set for that one looks really good. So.
Yeah. So of those last three helmets, I picked up all three of them. I pre-ordered them on Lego, and I only built one. I built the Red 5 helmet, which is probably my least favorite of three from looking at it. But it was a fun build.
Okay.
And I'm like, it looks better in person than I thought it would. So
yeah, I kind of want to see that one like in a store display or something because it's hollow, because it's a pilot helmet, and
it is hollow.
Okay.
But it's got a mic,
you got the background thing. Hold it.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, hold it centered on you. Okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I love the outside of it. It's just the inside feels weird.
But you really can't see the inside because it's all dark. So
yeah.
I was happy with that.
That's one that I
thought it was going to be.
That's one that I would display in like profile. So like to the side
if you had
instead
them all
of facing
set up
forward.
like this, it'd be one of the ones on the end.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and the Death Trooper one, like it looks cool, but the body of the Death Trooper droid is what looks impressive. The head is like this little, almost like a little miniature turtle shell thing. Like it looks.
It's kind of small. In Dark Trooper, not Death Trooper.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Dark Trooper, Death Trooper. Too many troopers.
Don't send the emails. We're good.
I have failed as a Star Wars fan.
Well, it's like there's swamp troopers, which are really want to be mud troopers.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I think every troopers want to be mud trooper.
There you go.
Yeah, that's why they wear all those white uniforms, is so that the mud shows up even better on them. They want that.
Boy.
Who wouldn't?
Of course.
As for wishful thinking,
so much easier to take care of when you don't have to keep it clean.
Yeah, neat and shiny is not our thing. So very easy to maintain your.
That's not how we roll.
Well, let's get right into the show then. So we mentioned at the beginning here that the Batman was the big thing we saw this week, and now Tim, you have not, so you're going to kind of live vicariously through our lives. But Eric and I both saw it. I saw it on Thursday afternoon. And I was very happy. Oh, nice. So it's definitely one you want to make sure you use the restroom before you go into the theater, because it's a 3-hour movie.
3 hours. And if you sit for the trailers, which are traditionally about 15 minutes, that makes it 3:10 in total.
I had about a half-hour trailers, 4 hours. We tend to do it to excess up here in Connecticut.
We typically do at the Alamo, but this time around we had a trailer for one film, and I don't even remember what it was. We had the DC superheroes montage teaser thing and some anime film that I'd never heard of. And that was it. It was I'm like, why are you skipping the trailers? And I think maybe it was the long runtime because it's 2 hours, 55 minutes long. However, a quick public service announcement here. There is no post-credit scene. There's a little post-credits URL you can go to, but there's no post-credit scene, so you do not have to stick around.
And the URL was the same URL they gave out earlier in the movie, too.
Yes, it actually appears in the story in the movie, and it's been around for a few months now. There's been kind of like an AR game That's been going on for a while. Carrie in the chat room, did you guys get the League of Super Pets trailer? I didn't even get that.
Yeah, we got that.
Did you? I watched it today on what was posted on our Discord server, and it looks better than the other Pets movies that have.
You said no end credit scene. Is there a mid credit scene?
No, there's a pre-credits scene that kind of felt like it might have wanted to be a mid-credit scene, but no. Once the credits roll, you can walk out.
Yep. Gotcha. Okay.
But you shouldn't.
Good to know.
You should stay in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for,
be respectful of
watch the credits. A lot of people work hard on these films, and they deserve to get their names put up there, And there are people who work on the film who don't get their names up there. You have to put in, according to Guild rules, a certain number of hours before your name goes up there, because they have to pay something like, I think it's like $1,000 a letter.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
And that's how you end up a lot of times with like uncredited actors on things. Like even if they're like a big name actor, because they did a voiceover and it was like 4 words and that's it. And that's how they end up uncredited, because they weren't actually significantly in it. But I mean, like when I watch credits, there are certain certain jobs that I look at on there to see like who did what, especially if I was impressed with a certain thing that was in it. I like to see who the effects houses are that are involved in it. And there's certainly ones that you'll recognize. A lot of cases. I mean, you've got like the George Lucas family of studios is regularly involved in a lot of the movies.
And I sit through those because now I've gotten to meet some of the people who work on some of the things.
It's fun to see a name you recognize.
Yeah, well, it's funny because the celebration in 2005, my roommate at the hotel was one of the ILM model makers, and so I got to hang out with some of them a little bit, and one of them was excited that he got credited in episode 3 because the work he did in episodes 1 and 2, he didn't get credited for because he was just shy of that threshold. And then there's some people whose names got abbreviated because, again, the amount of cost per letter and how much they can cram in there based on, the film cell production and then the distribution and this and that. Like it costs every few seconds that are in a film costs money. So, Doctor Strange was the one that I saw before the other trailers. It was nice to see that on the big screen. So anyway, the Batman though.
Yeah, I bet that's pretty impressive.
So Robert Pattinson as the Batman this time around. And of course, that's one of the big talking points about this. I went on record as saying that I was not thrilled with that choice when it was announced. However, I was also quick to point out that I hated the idea of Ben Affleck being Batman. And then when I saw Ben Affleck as Batman, he may be my favorite. And I know that's not a popular choice, but it's true. So I was willing to give Pattinson a chance. Lou, what did you think of Robert Pattinson?
So, I went into this movie with really no expectations of good or bad. I kind of said, okay, it's another Batman movie. I'm sure it'll be fun ride, popcorn movie. I'm not expecting too much. And I was concerned over Robert Pattinson's portrayal of, both Bruce Wayne and the Caped Crusader. But I was happy when I got out. I mean, I thought it was a well put together storyline. He was fine in the bat suit. We didn't see much of him as Bruce Wayne.
We saw a bit. Yeah, he wasn't active as Bruce Wayne unless he was then investigating as Bruce Wayne.
I heard that it was very big on the detective. Element of kind of the traditional Batman detective comics, and that's kind of the real origin of Batman's as more of a detective versus a crime fighter. And obviously over time the character evolved quite a bit more into the crime fighter type of thing. But I heard this one was pretty heavy on the detective part.
Here's my take on the different Batman movies. Okay, you've got the Tim Burton ones, which were the comic book movies, kind of the goofy, campy comic book stuff. You have the Christian Bale stuff, which are the vigilante action movie series.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Ben Affleck stuff, part of the Superman and Justice League stuff, which is very much the quintessential superhero movie. Yeah. And then you have this one, which is very much, as you said, Tim, a kind of a noir detective story. And I loved that. And one of the cool things about it is not only is there character development, but and I can't wait to actually get to talk about the story, like on a spoiler episode, which this is not. We're not going to spoil anything. But it had good character development and it had a good plot. Like the detective side of things was interesting.
Yeah, I thought the story, the narrative they told was better than anything else I've ever seen in Batman on screen. It was a good, compelling story. It was a little slow. The first hour felt a little bit slow, but I wasn't going to ding it for that. I mean, it was building to what it needed to build to, but just
it was meaningful.
I don't mind it being slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it suffered from being too long, and I think a lot of people are going to really struggle with that. And when you look at a lot of the mainstream reviews, that's like the main they talk about two things: the length and Robert Pattinson, and typically in that order. And I would have expected it to be the other way around. So the length people really seem to be struggling with. I don't think the pacing was wrong. We talk about pacing and a lot of people are like, oh, the pacing doesn't always have to be fast. It's okay to be slow. And I agree with that. You want some dynamics in the pacing. You need to have those intense moments, and then you need to have a break to settle back down, and then intense, and then a break.
It got to a point where like maybe 45 minutes in, I'm thinking to myself, God, not a lot of character development.
Really?
I'm like, they're not even telling me who Batman is here in this movie. And then that came
the character development was stronger later on. The beginning was more about the kind of setting the scene.
Yeah, him in costume doing his thing, and I was like, okay, and I was okay with it. But I'm like, I hope we get some character stuff because there's really not a lot of character development yet. Probably at 45 minutes in,
and it is there
now.
It's later in the film.
And keeping in mind, I haven't seen it. I'm not looking for it to be spoiled for me. But I think overall, was this an origin story? Was this another telling of the Batman origin story, or? I mean, can you, without spoiling it, can you say what they did?
So this takes place in what would be considered year 2. If you follow the Batman comics at all, Frank Miller did The Dark Knight Returns, and then that was really successful. And then he went back and did Batman Year 1, where he's, it's before he really dons the costume. Like he's just kind of, he knows he wants to fight crime, but he needs a shtick. He needs a thing, and he doesn't really know. So it's that first year. There is a comic book for year 2, which wasn't all that great. This is not based on it, but you should consider this year 2. Like he already has a bit of a relationship with Gordon. He's already been donning the suit for a while, but he's also still very young. His tactics are much more really good street fighting and less martial arts.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not an origin story. There's no witnessing the death of Thomas and Martha Wayne. We don't go back and revisit that at all.
Good.
Yeah, I was happy to see they didn't do that again.
But there was some discussion that we had on Discord over the last few days, even actually before Thursday, before the movie released, about the basically just how DC does their stuff, particularly in comparison to Marvel, to the MCU. The MCU is largely this very linear thing. It's all connected, all that. And DC doesn't do a lot of that. They may do a handful of movies that are connected, but then they're doing a lot of other stories there. And you may get, you have obviously in DC several Batman movies with your different Batman actors and their different stories. Sometimes you have some similarities in the stories, but there's a lot of differences. And I think the big thing there to me, it doesn't have to be an either or. I have a preference for the MCU simply because of their storytelling and their volume of movies and the characters that I love and that kind of stuff. And I was mostly a Marvel Comics person anyway. But like, I do love Batman. Batman's a fantastic character, has always been a favorite character. I appreciate the fact that what DC and Warner Brothers does is they're just simply going out there for storytelling. They're not trying to, while there is a universe that does exist, they're not out there to make sure that every movie is connected to that universe. They're just telling different stories. Right. And I like it. So you're getting different tone, you're getting different takes on things, you're getting different perspectives. Thank you for not telling another origin story, because we don't need it. But you know, I keep doing that stuff. I like that stuff. That not everything needs to be this huge, you know, expansive single universe that's all connected.
The problem I have with it is, and I think you're right, Tim, that they don't need to have everything connected, but they need to have the character of Batman, or whatever character they're telling in this case, be the same character. This feels like another Batman, and it was great. I mean,
I'm okay with it though.
But to me, it's like, well, you know, so why do we have another Batman? In I'm not saying you have to connect this to Superman and everybody else, but Batman should be Batman. He should be connected to himself. You know, it's like, now I have another Batman. I'm like, okay. I mean, I enjoy it, but I'm like, you know, why do we have another Batman?
So my history with comic books,
because for the same reason why we have different James Bond actors.
And I thought of that as when we talk about this.
Time goes on, actors get older, actors don't want to do that stuff anymore. It's a heavily physical role.
Yells it is, right. Director of photography.
But it's still James Bond, and it still feels very much the same character, even though it was different actors.
So here's my thing about this. I started comic books back a little bit late in high school, but mainly right after high school when I went to college the first time around. And I was almost exclusively Marvel, except Batman. And Batman, I hate to say it, even more so than Deadpool, is my favorite comic book character. I'm very, very heavily invested specifically in Batman and what we would call the Bat family. The rest of DC, I like it. And again, I'm talking comic books, not movies here. You know, I like it. It's okay. But Batman, like, I could sit and spend an entire afternoon reading various different Batman comics if they're well written, and they often are. So I'm very, I guess, protective of the character. And yet I've also read enough different variations of Batman that, to your point, Lou, I guess I'm used to it thanks to the comics, and because comics a lot of times they'll rotate in different artists and different writers, and everybody has a different take on it. And for a while, you had a couple of anthology series comic books running, Shadow of the Bat and was it Legends of the Dark Knight? And one was very much more the fighting martial arts action stuff, and the other was very, very driven in detective work. And I liked that. And they told the stories differently. They developed the character a little bit differently. But so the question to me is, are they true to the character? This was definitely a different take on the character, but I felt like if you look at the core of what makes Batman, this, and again, especially considering he's in year 2, I feel like it fit. Now, Ben Affleck's Batman is specifically supposed to be the much older Batman where his hair is starting to turn gray. So, which we haven't really gotten up until now. We were always kind of doing the middle-aged Batman. Then we get the older one. Now we got the younger one. I didn't really comment on Robert Pattinson earlier. From my own perspective, I think he did really, really well with this. I loved him in Tenet, and I think that he did really well here, and all the Twilight jokes and stuff. Yeah, I get it. But I'm over it. Like, you know, pick any.
Yeah, I am too.
Any actor. Morgan Freeman has been in some dud movies. Okay, like you pick any actor that's your favorite actor, and I'm sure I can probably name some movies where, I mean, they were real stinkers. So,
well, but then I'll also say, and while they weren't my thing, the Twilight movies also did really well.
It was smart for him to take on that role.
So
oh my gosh, that was.
So you had a lot of people, especially of our age, in all fairness, who are like, oh, is that Twilight guy? Oh my gosh, this is going to suck so bad. This is horrible. What a bad choice. All right, wait a minute. Okay, the movies really weren't for me, but pretty decent actor, and I also consider really early in his career.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily knock the actor based on those movies. And while maybe we didn't like the movies still performed exceptionally well.
He would have been stupid to not take that role.
We are not the demographic. Yeah, we are not the demographic for those movies. So, but I mean, I get what you were saying, Eric, in terms of dud movies. I mean, there are movies that, you know, whether they were financially duds or not, they simply may not have been well received by certain demographics. Look back
too, historically, because people said the same thing about Leonardo DiCaprio. He was a pretty boy when he first started out.
Right.
And look at him now. And they said the same thing. And I felt that way about DiCaprio. And I felt that way about Brad Pitt, too. That was another one where, you know, he's the pretty boy, but he couldn't act his way out of a paper bag. And then I saw 12 Monkeys. And then I saw Fight Club.
12 Monkeys is so good.
And I'm
love
like,
12 Monkeys.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Dude's got like chops as an actor. And I feel Pattinson is the same way.
And Meet Joe Black. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to.
Listen,
there really is an evolution to a lot of actors that, you know, especially when we first see them when they're younger. They don't necessarily have to be child actors, but you see them in their late teens, early 20s, certain roles that they take on, and then 10, 15, even 20 years later, it's amazing what they've gotten into. And I mean, I had exactly the same impression of Leonardo DiCaprio. It's like, oh, Titanic. Okay. Everyone is, you know, head over heels over Leonardo DiCaprio. All right, whatever. And then like the next thing he would end up in, didn't matter what the role was. I would just get very eye rolly over it. Yeah. And then like finally year after year, but then all of a sudden it's like any movie that I turn on that has Leonardo DiCaprio and I'm like, holy crap, he's good.
Yeah.
Like just such a solid actor.
They've grown into their feet, I guess you'd say. You know, kind of like you know, oh, it's a cute little puppy with the big feet. But once they grow into their paws, you're like, wow, you know, it's an impressive dog. And the same thing with actors. I mean,
I've almost grown into my clown shoes. Almost. Really close. Like I'm only maybe like 6 or 7 sizes off now.
Hey, as long as you get the nose down.
US, of course.
You know, the Batman, though, I feel like this is one of the strongest Batman movies we've had. I feel...
See, and I'm still partial to... oh, gosh.
The Tim Burton ones?
No.
Christian Bale? Okay.
Christian Bale, yeah.
Those had been my favorites.
And I like the gritty portrayal of it, but this is a close second. I mean, I am by far, these two series are much better than the Tim Burton stuff. And I've been on record for not being a Tim Burton fan. And I like the original Batmans when they came out.
Yeah, they were fine for the time.
At least the first one. You know, back in what, 89 was when the first one came out. I'm like,
the 89 Batman is still one of my favorite superhero movies of all time.
It was well done.
And I get, even though there's some kitschiness to it and such, it actually still aged pretty well.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
It holds up pretty well, especially because he understood that strange place that Gotham City sits, where it's this noir with kind of current technology, but they're still somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Like you cannot pinpoint and say, oh, Gotham is in this year in real world. Yep. You can't do that. It is freaking impossible to do.
It felt fanciful to the point where it was, you knew it was supposed to be New York, but not really. And it was kind of like that weird, you know, Tim Burton-esque type thing to it that worked really well in this case. Most things I hate him doing his visualization things of, but this worked really well.
I will say that I liked this Gotham. I liked...
Well, it rained all the time. Yeah. A lot of rain in Gotham.
Well, it's you know, it's Gotham. That's how it is. But that's the thing.
Gotham is dark and dreary. Gotham is nighttime New York City, but
Metropolis is New York
City.
Gotham is Chicago.
Right. Nighttime Chicago, but really next to London.
Okay, there you go. And Seattle
with London
at the same time.
Yeah, that's in Seattle.
At the same time.
I think that they really nailed the noir environment and the tone of the characters, the storytelling, the costumes, the set design, all of that. I liked this Gotham. It felt real in the same way that Christian Bale's Batman felt more real than any other Batman we'd seen before. To me, this one seemed even more real than the Christian Bale stuff. Like when this Batman was fighting, he took hits. And it felt like, it's always one of those things where you've got 5 guys on one, right? And 4 of the 5 guys are like in the back with their baseball bats, and they're just kind of moving their arms around, doing anything because they have to wait for the choreography for it to be their turn. That wasn't the kind of fights here. And I liked that. Right. And then there's, of course, we see it in the trailer, kind of a car chase type scene. I haven't seen it done that way before. I found it very realistic, and I liked it. I liked it a lot.
The way it was shot was really good.
Yeah, the cinematography for it was a bit unique too.
It was very cool. Yeah, and I mentioned this on our Discord channel, but I don't know if our theater just installed new low frequency effects speakers in the seats, or they just actually found a way to make them work really well. But oh my God, the car scenes, when the Batmobile fired up, I'm like, I can feel my seat rumbling. This was amazing.
We didn't have that.
They did a great job.
Now.
Oh my God. And I'm like, woo, this is impressive. But that made that Batmobile all the much more real for me. Cause I wasn't too sure how I was going to take that, but I'm like, this is pretty good.
Yeah, it was, I don't know. I don't want to say too much more about it. I'll just say that I feel like the plot was strong. The setting and the tone, the how do I want to put it? The presentation of this Batman was strong. And I think that the acting was strong. I like this. And the more I go back and look at the specifics throughout the movie and not really the Easter eggs and stuff, but kind of the breadcrumbing and the foreshadowing here and there and all that. And, what happened with the struggle between the villain and Batman. And again, I can't spoil a whole lot, but I'm really impressed with how they crafted the story. And the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm liking it. And I'm really impressed. I have to say, I already had expectations for this that I was trying to keep them low. They went higher than I was comfortable with, but the movie exceeded them. And I would definitely recommend it very highly.
Oh, I'd recommend it wholeheartedly too. Yes.
I know there are a lot of other characters that were in this movie that we had seen in other Batman movies. But the one obviously that's been most prominently featured in all the marketing and the hype and that kind of stuff is Zoe Kravitz for Catwoman. Really well. So can you guys talk a bit about her? Like, how did she do? What did you guys like?
Yep, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to bring up the rest of the cast was pretty amazing. In Zoe Kravitz, I don't know if she's done much else. I mean, she's Lenny Kravitz's daughter, but she did a great job as Selina Kyle. I really liked her portrayal of it. It felt right. She was not the Catwoman we've seen in other Batman movies, but she was a strong character herself, and she was just kind of, doing her own thing alongside Batman. And she's like, "You gonna help me or what?" And if you don't help me, I'm still gonna
never
do it
referenced
myself,
as Catwoman, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Just Selina.
Well, she mentions the bat and the cat. She mentions
there
that
are, and she has cats.
Yeah, she takes in straight. She said.
But
again, I actually like that kind of similarly in the MCU. A lot of times, characters are not referenced, or at least in their first movie, as the under the moniker of the character name, because they're kind of waiting for it to naturally develop, and to just throw out there that this character's name is Ant-Man. Like, that's just kind of like it's awkward. It doesn't happen like that. They want it to kind of happen organically, and I appreciate that. So I appreciate that in this movie that they also didn't just kind of throw it out there.
And speaking of organically, I would say, and Lou, I don't know if you agree, I would say that kind of describes Zoe Kravitz's acting in this portrayal of this version of the character. It felt very organic. It felt natural. It felt real. The things that the character did made perfect sense. So again, kudos to the writers. But then the way she delivered that and the different things that her character was going through at different points of the film, she made it very believable. She did a great job.
Definitely, yeah. I didn't realize how much of a background she had in acting. She's got 41 credits.
I know she's done
IMDb.
things. I don't remember what, though.
Yeah, I knew she did a few things. I didn't realize how much. I mean, she was the voice of Catwoman in the Lego Batman movie. She was in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Bunch of other stuff here. Yeah, I mean, goes back to 2007.
Okay.
So X-Men First Class, Divergent, been in a bunch of stuff. So yeah, kudos to her.
Yeah,
she did a
really
good job. The other one that surprised me was Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
I didn't even know he was in this until the credits. I'm like, what?
I did, and so I got to
surprise.
like watch knowing that was him, and it was still hard to identify that it was him between the accent, the mannerisms, and all the prosthetics.
The prosthetics.
So he played the Penguin
for that, but yeah. Right.
And you wouldn't know it.
Okay. It's interesting because I can see, and having seen pictures of the character from this movie, you don't picture that as Colin Farrell. But interestingly enough, knowing Colin Farrell and his acting style, in my head, it works. Yeah. It actually totally works. While visually it doesn't, it's just kind of the mechanics of him as an actor. It does work. I'm a big fan of Colin Farrell. I like his stuff.
He was very impressive in this. I don't have anything else to mention about the Batman without
I don't have anything else either.
Spoilers. We want to go through the rest of the... We have kind of a short list this week, and I don't have a whole lot to say about the other things I've covered, but...
We do, yeah. So next up, I mean, Tim, you saw something called In From the Cold. Netflix series or movie?
Series. Yeah. So this is up for the first season is up. They apparently have been greenlit for a second season. There are 8 episodes in this first season. I think we might have 2 episodes left in it. So basically, the series it's an ex-Russian spy who basically left the game, went to the States, lived a normal life, became a mom, all that kind of stuff. And she ends up later on back into the spy game. And it does get revealed that she has some unique abilities. So it goes a little sci-fi. Not real heavy-handed with the sci-fi, but some cool stuff. And I mean, I don't think it's a huge spoiler of it because it's in any promo or description that you read, but basically she has like shape shifting abilities.
Really?
So if she comes in contact with anyone, she's able to like do something like kind of absorb some of their DNA so she can then become them.
Interesting.
But it takes a lot of energy and strength for her to do it and to maintain it for a period of time, that kind of thing. So male, female, whatever, she can change into that person. And it's very, very interesting. Great. Just incredibly well done. It's really cool. And it one thing that I love about it in particular is that it is not just this straight out like spy thing. Like she's traveling with her daughter who's a teenager, and her daughter are going through stuff because like mom and dad just got divorced or something. And so like there's this personal stuff that keeps drawing her back. And so, initially she's very reluctant, and then she realizes, okay, like this is like basically for a good cause for me to get involved in this. But I have my daughter. I got to pay attention to my daughter because, it's not like we're home, we're in another country, and I got to make sure that, things are going okay with her. It's just, I love the flow to the story. The cast is really good. They're not folks who I recognized right away, but when you look at their filmographies, they are people who have been involved in a lot of different shows and projects and movies and that kind of stuff. So some of the faces are a little bit familiar. even though they're not like A-listers or anything, but it's still a solid cast. Like I'm really impressed with it. So, yeah, great cast, great story. I'm really happy with it. And, yeah, highly recommend. In from the Cold on Netflix.
Cool.
I think I've got it in my list. I just forgot that it had come out.
I had never heard of it before, but I'm gonna add it to my list and
Yeah,
check it out.
Yeah, must watch it. It just released recently. Go for it.
Nice. Eric, you got something in here that I've never heard of before either. The Guardians of Justice.
So this just came out on Netflix, I think Friday. This is a new superhero series. If you think something along...
They seem to be mixing DC and Marvel here.
Yeah.
They're confusing things.
They kind of are.
Just saying.
So,
just saying.
If you think kind of a cross between The Boys and the Millerverse from Mark Miller.
Okay.
I'm trying to think, was it Jupiter's Legacy or something? The show that came out like a year or two ago that was pretty good. So this is, it's basically a group of teenagers who want to succeed in life. They want to have promising careers. They want to get somewhere with their life, right? So they band together and they start writing a superhero TV series for Netflix, and it sucks. And I'm expecting that as we go through the series, we're going to learn that they're eventually fired and will never work in Hollywood again. I won't ever find out because I'm not watching any more of this crap. I think I managed to get through the first episode, and I just, you know how some things are so bad that you can't even pay attention to them anymore. You start like multitasking on like 37 different things at once instead of just one or two things. I couldn't even multitask because I was just so enamored with how bad it was that I couldn't pull my eyes away from the screen. Everything, the writing, the lighting, the way the shots were framed. It was so bad. It was so bad. Like, I'm trying to come up with something good to say about it. No, not a single actor, not a single concept. I couldn't even describe the concept for you. And I paid attention. I think like my brain is blocking it intentionally. It's bad. Don't bother wasting your time with it. At all.
Okay. We won't waste any more time on the show.
Absolutely not.
Wow. So something that's good, at least I think it's good. Hopefully Eric thinks so as well. The new season of Picard just started streaming last Thursday, I think.
Paramount Plus.
And I've been on record before saying I am a big fan of when they do these released one per week and, let you digest it. And then next week you have something to talk about and so forth. No, I want this all at once. I got to the end of the episode. I'm like, what? You can't leave me here. Oh,
I agree with you. And I don't think it's just like, oh, we want more. Give us more. Like, we were with some of the Star Wars stuff. I think that if you have something like the first season of Picard is basically like a multi-episode movie. Like, it's really structured and paced to be like a movie, not like a bunch of individual episodes, even serialized, telling a story. The Book of Boba Fett felt like, say what you will about it, it felt like there were individual episodes, and that's fine. And it was still serialized. This was much more like it was just a movie broken up into different breaking points. Season 2, for me, I kind of feel like I hate when they do the whole, oh, there's something weird going on and all of the characters are in different places than they were before and you have to like keep up, and it kept making me feel like, wow, did I watch the final episode? Did I miss something? Do I have everything here? Like, everybody had gone off and done very different things in that short period of time. And I'm like, okay, either this is the exposition explaining what all the characters have done while we've been gone, or this is like an alternate universe, alternate reality sort of thing, which Star Trek has done before. And then we get this anomaly in space, and I'm like, oh, it's the alternate universe thing. Except it doesn't appear to be. And it wasn't until 2/3, 75% of the way the episode, where I felt like I kind of know what's like, I get it. I'm like, okay, I've identified what I'm watching now. Now let's go ahead and watch it. And then it's like, oh, come back next week. It's like, wait a minute, what? No, don't do that to me.
Right. Well, I mean, they teased that. I mean, we knew this was going to happen for the entire waiting for this to release thing. Because when we get the trailer, we saw Q in the trailer. We knew what was going on, and you're like, "Ooh, I can't wait." But I found myself forgetting. Yeah, but I found myself forgetting that Q was going to be in this.
Oh, I remembered.
I in the back of my mind, but I'm watching. I'm like, what? Okay, and then I'm like, oh yeah. I was like, okay, great. So now I'm fully invested. But I think this is going to be a fantastic run, and I still, I'm still engaged with this, and I think that Sir Patrick Stewart was better in this episode than he was during the whole first season. It's tough because I love him as an actor. I love the characters he portrays. I love Picard. And it's just I'm also looking at he's getting old for the role, and it's how much more can he really do with this? But it felt really good. The first season felt like, okay, he's an old man. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing, but it didn't feel right to me. This one feels much better. Even though he's the same character and he's the same age and so forth, but he feels like he's more vibrant with this.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that while I was really annoyed by the episode, if I look at it as part one of a 2-part season premiere, I feel like it's really good. And it's setting a great groundwork for the season.
Now, I don't know how many episodes are we getting in this season. Did you happen to notice? 8
Carrie's
or 10,
in the chat room, and Carrie is very much
she'll probably
the Trekkie of the group. And by Trekkie, I apparently mean Trekker, because I think Trekkie is some sort of a racial slur or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, she'll hop in the chat room here in a second.
She'll chime in
and brief us poor little younglings on our Star Trek lore. But yeah, so Picard season 2, I mean, it's off to a good start, and I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely.
Season 2 is 10 episodes per IMDb.
Okay. Oh, and she says she answers to both. That's good. Okay. I feel better. All right. What else?
Yeah, some people do take the tricky thing as a derogatory term.
I'm like,
I don't either. So.
Who cares? Like, why would that offend you? Yeah. Be proud of, you're being identified as a member of the Trek community. I mean,
so
it's like nerd versus geek.
See, there is
whatever people want to call me is fine. See, that doesn't bother me. I know there is a difference, but either one doesn't bother me unless they're using as a derogatory term, which society now is coming to the point where they really
there's overlap, but geek is just someone who has an incredibly insane amount of interest in something, and nerd is typically someone who does not socialize well and is there's some differences, but it's basically the same thing. 10 episodes, Carrie says. Yes. So
awesome. So that's pretty much it for the big stuff this week. Got a lot of little stuff here. I am still loving Severance. Are you up to date?
I have not seen the most recent episode, but I agree with you. This show is incredible.
And I still don't know what's going on. It's like I have no clue what's going on, but I love it.
So is it really that good?
I think so. This episode was a little darker.
Really?
It does.
How much more dark?
Well,
it's not super dark. I don't want to scare anybody off because it's not
the very beginning of it.
But it's already like way darker than I expected it to be. It goes even darker.
Well, this episode starts off with a disclaimer at the front saying there are scenes of self-harm in this episode. So yeah, they broach some topics, including suicide, and it's like, ooh, okay, but it's still keeping me riveted to it.
It's great.
Yeah. Otherwise, for me, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, I'm still watching that. Picked up 2 games recently. I picked up Horizon Forbidden West, which is the sequel to, I didn't play the first one.
Horizon New Dawn? No.
New Dawn. Horizon. That's right. Dawn something.
I forget what it was.
But yeah, I'm loving that. But that's been taking a back seat since Friday. Gran Turismo 7 came out for the system, and I am just loving it. It's back to the old Gran Turismo series where you progress through at your own pace. It's not online racing. It's it's really good. Cool. So watching on my TV.
You sent me some video from that. It's from the theatrical stuff, and it's pretty impressive.
The theatrical stuff is not much different than the actual gameplay when they show
graphics are insane.
That's wild.
It's like I'm watching this thing. I'm like, it feels like I'm watching a race on TV in 4K. It's like, wow,
that's cool.
How about you guys? Anything of note?
Yes.
Derek, go ahead.
So I've been catching up on Upload because I would like to cover it on Media Chatter. And because, as Fatmatic pointed out in the chat room, Upload is coming back for season 2, I think next week. And
I think so. Yeah.
Freaking love Upload. I think there is so much depth to that show, and yet it's a fun show with a lot of heart to it. It's interesting. There's character development, there's plot development, there's thematic development. It hits like every one of the bases all at once, and it does so well. It does so in a way that it doesn't feel like it's just all over the place and sloppy. I think it's an amazing show. I think it's one of the most well-crafted shows in a really long time. And it's made by the creators of The Office and Parks and Rec, though it doesn't feel like either of those shows. Very different in tone and presentation.
Very.
But yeah, I am so excited about season 2. For me, it's going to be one of the biggest streaming content events of the year. I like it that much. So I've been watching Upload again, the first season. I have a friend of mine who is taking a film studies course and wanted to know if I would like to watch some of the films with him. And I said, yeah, sure, why not? Because I haven't seen, I don't think, any of the films on the list. So I got to watch Vertigo for the first time.
Good
it was
movie.
Pretty good.
Classic.
I liked it.
Yeah. Really well done. Great directing.
Yes.
Outstanding directing in that movie.
Yeah. And especially if you take into account the differences between directing then and directing now. Really good. Like other movies from that time period can't hold up. And the transfer, it was a really, really good transfer. I watched it on like a Blu-ray transfer from, the original film, and really good. I was surprised. And then the other one we had to watch, I just want to go on record. Maybe 2001 wasn't that bad.
What?
I cannot wait to hear what you say about this, because I love this movie.
No, you don't. I know you better than that, Tim. You have taste, you have class and refinement, and
Eric,
don't intellect that. Really?
Don't disappoint me.
So we did a group viewing of this movie.
Tell everyone what we're talking about.
No, listen. So some of the things I said during this thing, as we got to the point where people are like literally laughing at how bad the film is at many different points. When I say that I have both seen and been involved in high school productions that were as good or better, I think people initially took it as me being snarky, and then as the film went on, they realized I was being literal. I'm shocked.
Lou,
are we talking about? So this isn't Mulholland Falls.
Movie called Mulholland Drive.
Mulholland Drive.
I misunderstood. I heard 2001 before.
Yes, this movie makes me appreciate 2001 even better. I thought you guys were looking at the show notes. No. I didn't watch 2001 again. I don't hate myself that much. But after watching Mulholland Drive,
that's what I was like surprised about.
2001, I'm thinking maybe it's not as bad as I've been saying it was. I thought you guys were talking about. I thought you were looking at the show notes and approving of this crap.
I don't think I've ever seen Mulholland Drive. Tell you the truth.
Yeah. So it's David Lynch. The guy who did what?
A good movie. a good movie.
I remember the
Mulholland
trailer.
Drive?
Start off
I remember
your
wanting to
description with
see it.
that.
I just never saw it.
Yeah.
Tim.
Yeah.
I don't even have words. I felt violated after watching this movie. I felt like I've never felt robbed of hours of my life before on a level that this movie made me feel. It was that bad. Nothing about it made sense. I still don't know who the boss guy at the beginning of the movie is. I still don't understand. They don't give you any reason to care about any one of the characters until maybe halfway through, and then they try to give you a reason to care about one or two of the characters that you realize you're not even sure like who these characters are, what they're doing, why they're doing what they're doing. So you don't really care about them. And then you find that like David Lynch is one of those filmmakers where people like to pretend that they, quote, get it, because then they can be like pompous about their film snobbery and look down their noses at other people who watch the movies that he makes and are confused and say, oh, you just don't understand. Well, you're damn right I don't understand, because there was nothing in this film that made a lick of sense.
So I feel like I have to watch it because I remember I wanted to see it back when it came out.
No,
never did. And I'm hearing one side saying yes, one side saying no.
So let me say this, Lou. I acknowledge I have no authority over you, but I'm going to say it anyway because I feel obligated to. You are not allowed to watch this movie. I'll let you watch Team America World Police, and I'll encourage you to watch Kung Power: The End of the Fist. You're not allowed to watch Mulholland Drive. And I acknowledge I have no authority. I can't enforce that.
Disagrees with you. They've got an 84 tomato reader and an 87 audience score from Mulholland Drive.
Yeah, drug use.
I thought that Eric was intellectual enough to handle certain movies, and I mean, maybe Mulholland Drive just
listen. You wanted an exciting, dynamic episode of the podcast. We can set aside an episode, and you have to explain me and we're going to have it R-rated too, because I don't know how to censor some of the things I have to say. You can explain to me what the heck happened in this movie. There are scenes that are just like you're sitting there. What the hell is going on? Did the editor fall asleep? Is that why I'm looking at a fence in the dark for like 45 seconds? We went back to the fact that people didn't get credited in some of the Star Wars movies because it was too expensive for those few seconds that it scrolls on the page. And yet this guy can sit there and like it's cutting back and forth between two people having nonsensical dialogue that has nothing to do with anything. And then all of a sudden, like one of them like walks out of a gate or something, and you just sit there on the gate. And you sit there, and you sit there, and you sit there. It's like, why?
The thing is, everything in the... So I've not seen the movie in several years, and I'll have to watch it again to refresh my memory. But everything in that movie has a point.
Make a list.
Everything
I want to hear them.
In that movie has a point.
Make a list. Because I did too. I didn't even have to use any ink, which is great. Saved a piece of paper. I can still use that paper for something else now, which is nice. It's like a form of recycling. It's like preemptive recycling.
I'm going to have to watch this now. I'm going to have to watch this.
No, Lou, you're not allowed.
It is a solid movie. It is. The thing is that it is also a mind trip. It's not intended
and there's a difference.
Be a cohesive.
It is literally meant to be a cohesive movie because it is a movie, and they cohesed it together and released it in theaters and charged people money for it.
You got to go along for the ride with this thing, and it's fantastic. And there's a mystery that's associated with it, and it's just yeah. It's. Lou, I am very interested to see what your opinion of it is.
I have to watch this now.
Do you want to do like we can like record a commentary? We can watch it together as a group. We got to do something for this, because if you like it that much, I cannot begin to describe. So Lou, I'm going straight to Flickchart, and I'm jumping it right at the end. I'm not even going to compare it to anything. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. It's going right at the end. I've literally never seen a movie this bad in my life.
This is a movie that when it first came out, I saw it, and I was absolutely floored by how like amazingly well done this movie was. Floored.
2001. This came out 2 years after The Matrix.
Maybe we're not.
And yet, this is like something that was from like 1950s film school rejects. You remember the Cannibal the Musical, Lou? This is nowhere near that good with either the storytelling, the acting, certainly not the editing, and not the directing.
Oh, God. I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm hearing two totally different reviews here. Okay, I'm going to watch this, and then we're going to have to get three of us together and watch it with commentary.
Academy Award, Best Director.
Yes.
Which, if ever there was a reason for me not to have faith in the Academy, because that is a list I have been building up over the years. I can throw out the rest of the list. This is all I need. This was bad. My 12-year-old son could direct better than this guy. No wonder he has not done anything of any consequence as of a long time now. And you can look up on IMDb, he's still doing stuff. Never heard of any of it because this is the schlock he puts out. Anyway, okay. Wow. Yeah, I didn't realize you liked, I think you're misremembering something about it, or you were drunk, or...
I've seen it several times, and every time I am wowed by it. It's, yeah.
So where can
I'm almost more confused than I was watching the movie. I'll look it up for you.
Okay.
We'll talk offline. Wow, it was bad. Anyway, that's all I haven't done any video gaming. I have started playing Magic the Gathering again recently. I got roped into it now that the meta has changed and it's not expensive like it used to be to play anymore. And I already ranked in a recent tournament, which was nice, surprising, and yeah, it's
very good,
kind of fun. That's all I got.
What about you, Tim? Anything to add?
There's some comic books that I've been reading lately. Of course, keeping up on the current Moon Knight series, which I still just find really fantastic and funny and such. And you know, supposedly no apparent ties to the Moon Knight series, which starts later this month on Disney Plus, but still very good. Really, really well done. Very well told. Death of Doctor Strange is a miniseries comic that just came to an end.
Comic book character. He's going to come back in like 3 months. It's fine.
He, like in the first few pages of the first book, he dies.
Okay.
And then it's about how he solves his own death. Because he's Doctor Strange. And even though he's dead, he's still solving his own death.
If only we could all do that.
And then it's fantastic because it then continues into actually another comic series which starts this month. So the Death of Doctor Strange miniseries came to an end early this month, and then later this month it picks up into something else. And yeah, really, really quite good. What else? Oh, and the new Ghost Rider series started, which is pretty good. Very horror-y, very mind-trippy. I like it. Just the one issue out so far, but so yeah, comic books.
Cool.
That's pretty much been it.
Okay. All right.
Well, one more thing. Speaking of Moon Knight, Oscar Isaac was the host of SNL this past weekend. Very, very good.
Oh, yeah, was he?
It was good. If you can catch any of that on YouTube, please do.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think that brings us to the end of the episode. Eric,
all right.
Take us home.
Well, as long as home for you isn't on Mulholland Drive. Actually, if it is, it's probably the movie that was bad. If you liked Mulholland Drive, tell us in the comments below. Go to randomchatter.com/YouTube. Even if you're listening to this later in audio format, head over there, give us some comments, explain to me what the heck was going on in that movie, because like I dug deep. I tried to find any kind of useful meaning in it, and it was all just, we'll save it for another episode. But tell us what you think. But more importantly, tell us what you've been watching recently and what you think of it, and what you think we might like to watch ourselves, what we might like to cover here. And let us know if you're going to go see Batman in the theaters. The Batman. Starring Batman.
Yes.
As the Batman.
Correct.
Head over to randomchatter.com/Discord. Join our Discord server, especially if you have seen the Batman. We have a spoiler exclusive channel over there set up so you can discuss it with other people who've seen it, so you don't have to worry about ruining it for other people. You can let us know what you thought, talk about specific scenes, talk about the ending, etc. And of course, we have a lot of other discussions going on there too.
Is this on the Discord?
This is on the Discord at the website, but you don't put the thes in the URL. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
What else? Go to randomchatter.com/store because there's a reason. And that reason is it's starting to get warmer outside. So your Random Chatter hoodies and Force Chatter sweatshirts and Movie Chatter hoodies, you need to replace them with some good quality t-shirts because it's starting to get warm outside now.
Yeah. Speaking of Movie Chatter, you want to talk about what's going on with Movie Chatter?
Probably put the new logo up on the store as well. Maybe put some shirts and sweatshirts on sale too.
It'll go 30%.
So this is a good time to pick it up. So we've got Movie Chatter. We decided, we want to cover more. So we renamed it Media Chatter. And we're going to be covering streaming media, whether it's movies or, movies in the theater too, or whether it's streaming TV shows like Upload. Upload Season 2 is coming. We covered Reacher, which is a phenomenal series on Amazon Prime Video. And so we're trying to open up the scope and the spectrum of what we cover so that we can hit some things we've wanted to for a long time and just haven't had an opportunity to. So Movie Chatter is now Media Chatter. However, you don't have to do anything different to subscribe to it. If you're subscribed to Movie Chatter, it's just kind of being treated as a renaming. So you're already subscribed. If you subscribe to the network feed for your podcast, you already get it. We have a different playlist for it here on the YouTube channel. But again, it's all the same YouTube channel. So you don't have to do a thing differently, which is awesome. You just have to listen to us cover shows as well as movies. And of course, we're trying to start with things that are more recent, more relevant, such as Reacher, Season 2 of Upload. And we're not doing episode by episode. We're doing either entire series at a time or individual seasons at a time. So.
And I've not seen the new logo, so I'm
it's
definitely shoot that over to me. I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I will.
The word movie says the Media Chatter, except we wrote it with transparent ink.
There's no the.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's just awkward spacing then.
Yeah. the graphic artist that I am. So. But that's going to do it for this episode of Random Chatter.
Send it over.
We'll see you again in a week. And the other thing too, Force Chatter, we are probably going to move bi-weekly, or if anything pops up Star Wars related that is important and timely, of course, we're going to jump in and cover it as news breaks. And we do have Kenobi coming up soon. We've got Star Wars Celebration. Hopefully some other news breaking soon as well, we hope. So next week we will be back with Force Chatter and more Random Chatter for you. And finally, one last thing I forgot. Movie Chatter has moved. We're no longer doing live shows on Tuesdays. We're doing them on Monday nights.
Media Chatter.
Media Chatter, not Movie Chatter.
Yeah. We're moving Movie Chatter to Mondays and renaming it.
Yeah. All you got to do is show up and listen. That's it. Don't worry about the names and all of that.
So if you guys move,
we got you.
If you guys move back to the other day, is it going to be Movie Chatter again? What if you move it to Fridays?
I would be more inclined to answer these silly questions if your perspective on Mulholland Drive represented some figment of reality. But
if we did it on Wednesdays, it could be Prince Spaghetti Chatter.
And with that, we are out. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you later.